his story, and particularly the story of the Great Migration series, resonates in my own life because my mother's family moved from Mississippi to Indiana. My father's family actually stayed in the South. They stayed in Georgia. And I grew up on a farm in Texas. And so when I would look at the images of the Great Migration, I would see the people working on the farms. I remember, and we had our own farm, and we had our own goats and chickens and things like that. And I remember there was, my parents drove everywhere. So if we went to go visit my great-grandmother in Georgia, we would drive all, like literally across the South, we would drive. And there would actually be places where we couldn't stop. And my dad explained to us why we couldn't stop. Or if we went to El Paso, we would drive. But one of the things that my dad did, and I was probably 8 or 9 years old, so in Texas, you have all these cotton fields that are still there, and they're run by machines now. But we had never touched cotton before. We'd only ever read about it in the books. And so we pulled over on the side of the road, and we each had to pick a little ball of cotton. And so it's the very first time I'd ever seen it when it was not just a cotton ball, you know. And it's hard, and there's a thick needlepoint prick, you know, that protects the cotton and keeps it. And in being 8 or 9, I didn't really fully understand what was happening, but I couldn't imagine picking more than just 1 or 2, let alone an entire field. So knowing in my own life what the history is of my family, knowing that part of my family actually did make this trek north to have a better life, and where they ended up was in Gary, Indiana, which is not, is not the best of places in the world to live. There's a great deal of poverty. But there is just, I still see the hope that my parents have, and in all that they have worked so hard to accomplish and achieve, so that we can have better than what they had. So when I look at, when I look at these paintings, I see my history told so beautifully, with passion and integrity, and with no shame. Part of what growing up in East Texas, there was a great deal of racism and discrimination. And so anytime you talked about slavery, I remember feeling really hot and really small and embarrassed. And when Black History Month would come around, and we would study the 2 or 3 or 4 people, usually George Washington Carver, Harriet Tubman, Jacob Lawrence, there was a sense of pride, but also for myself, but for my other classmates, of why are we doing this? But every time I look at his Migration Series panels, I see such pride, and they're so beautifully drawn. You see, he's so incredibly talented, so you understand why he got the attention that he did. And you see, like I said before, he is able to capture all aspects of this experience, the migration experience, from the good, the bad, the painful. What was hard about this life that they were leaving, what was hard about the life that they entered. But he does it with no shame, with great beauty, and it's just really wonderful.